Ahlan, ahlan, ahlan. Welcome, guys, to this new episode of Listen Habibi. Right now, we are on episode 3 of season 2, being a Lebanese woman in the season of Lebanon. So, I've had some thinking to do about the setups of my episodes. I'm thinking moving forward that I'm going to randomly choose which episode I'd like to do and then assign it to its season. That way we don't have just a chunk of Lebanese episodes and a chunk of women episodes, but sort of like naturally as I come across people that I'd love to interview and to have discussion with, that I can just talk to them and then moving forward just assign them to the random season. That way we can mix it up a little bit and we can attract different audiences. So I'm really excited to do that. But more about this episode. I have with me my friend Sara Hamzeh. We're going to meet her in a bit. And we're here to talk about being a Lebanese woman and in comparison to being American. I'm American, she's Lebanese. And I'm very excited for you guys to tune into this one. So sit back and relax and give it a listen. Hi, Sara.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you for having me. This is very exciting.
Sara, you're in Beirut right now.
I am. Yes, I am.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And to tell you guys a little bit about how we met, Sara, we met at the Harvard Arab Conference in, I think it was 2019, right?
Yes, 2019. It was April.
That's right, April. Oh my gosh, it feels like it was literally so long ago.
It feels like it was so long ago, but it also feels like yesterday at the same time. Like it's strange.
It was such a blast when we went. I felt like I met people from all around the world and it was really cool. I think I was like the youngest one there, Sara. Everyone was in college and I was like a junior actually.
You were. I mean, I remember very, very vividly that I like turned to you, you're talking to someone and you mentioned like, yeah, I'm 18. And I turn around and I'm like, excuse me? Because you do not seem 18. Not seem at the time, you did not seem 18 because you're very eloquent in the way that you speak, in the way that you behave. And so I was like shocked. I'm like, this girl's 18. Wow. All right. So very impressed.
I think I was.
It can be intimidating. I mean,
it is, yeah. I think if it was 2019, I think I was actually 16 at the time.
Oh my god. Yeah.
No, I hadn't turned 17.
A lot of sense.
It was crazy.
It really was. I mean, I actually just had like a full throwback from the conference because the two kings from the time who were Muhammad Hadid and Hassan Moshidi currently in Lebanon, like right now. They landed, I think, today. And
You're
so
kidding.
I'm like, life goes full circle. I mean, not full circle because I'm not going to meet them this time, but like half circle maybe.
So why are they in Lebanon?
But yeah, I have no idea. I think they're just here to, maybe boost the economy. I think they're just, you never know. That's kind of a thing when you go through post-disaster. People come in to help, other people come in to like see business ventures. It really becomes a hodgepodge of so many things. And I think a lot of foreigners are trying to boost the economy by traveling and spending their money here, even though it's not the smartest thing to do during a pandemic.
Right.
But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, they're coming in on a full lockdown.
That's true. Oh my gosh. So yeah, we did meet the whole Haddad family, which was like crazy. Yeah. They came into Harvard for their dad. But among them too, we had amazing speakers and literally there were people of all ages. I think like me being the youngest, it went all the way up though. There were people like in retirement there to support their countries and to learn more about, I think it was recreating like a new Middle East, and it was from people from everywhere. It was amazing.
Definitely. It was such an interesting topic. It was about how people that are based in North America are kind of people in general that leave the Middle East, how they can help enrich the Middle East, how they can give back to the Middle East, how we can't just kind of cut ourselves off from where we come from. And I
Right.
thought the topic was beautiful.
Obviously, it's inspiring to come together, but it's even more powerful, I think, to make the connections with all of these people that are so similar to you of all ages and backgrounds and like fixing where they come from and like making progress, which was awesome for me. I loved it. I felt like I was in heaven.
Yeah, because I mean, there's a thing about being in such a kind of intimidating environment and
Right.
seeing how everyone around you is just like you.
Right. Yes.
And I mean, I really want to know your perspective on it. Being so young in that environment, was that not intimidating for you? How did you carry conversation with people that intimidated you? Like, I'm so fascinated. I'm fascinated that you were 16 in that setting.
Oh my God. So for me, honestly, Sarah, I have a great confidence in talking to people that are like mature because I'm honestly very mature for my age. But like
Mm-hmm.
I thrive in conferences like that because I know for sure that's what I want to do with my life. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not afraid to talk to people at all. I'm not afraid to like ask questions and to be like, when I walk into a room, I'm in there for a reason and I like to make myself known. I have that kind of
Mm-hmm.
presence that it's like even though I'm young, I want to, do something with my time, do something with my efforts. And I've done a lot of traveling and public speaking, so doing things like that wasn't that difficult. It was honestly amazing.
I mean, yeah, it definitely shows you're very confident in the way that you speak. I mean, even now, almost 2 years later, I distinctly remember it. And I think, I mean, it shows by the fact that you're hosting your own podcast. You're trying to be innovative. You're trying to like the fact that you reached out like after I commented, like I would like to be on the podcast, and you actually reached out to me. I mean, that shows that you kind of like I don't know, you're so comfortable talking to people that you don't really know. I mean, I had the complete opposite experience of being a 16-year-old. I was on the very extremely socially anxious end of the spectrum.
Really?
Yeah, and no one that I meet right now believes that,
No,
because
because Sarah,
now
you're amazing. Oh my God. Like you're I want to get into you. Why don't we go back? So
Mhm.
please tell us where you were born, your education, your dreams. Like just tell us the story of you, Sarah, because obviously these people know who I am pretty much for like the basics. So introduce yourself really Anjad لأنه even I know you briefly, but we haven't connected in a long time. So like tell me a little bit more.
All right. So I was born and raised in Tripoli here in Lebanon.
Mm.
So Lebanese born and raised. Um, I grew up. Uh, I grew up around like a lot of kind of different identities because my mom's side of the family is Syrian, my dad's side of the family is Lebanese, and they come from very different family cultures. My mom was kind of the only she has four sisters, and she's the only one that finished high school. She's the only one that got married in her 20s.
Wow.
Yeah, and so like growing up, I already had that like role model of like my mom kind of deviated from the role that she was set to do.
Hmm.
Um, but I did grow up quite conservative. My parents really had a conservative um, parenting style, especially since I was their firstborn and I was a girl in a Middle Eastern setting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I went to school in Tripoli, and then I did my undergrad in landscape architecture at the American University of Beirut.
Wow.
And as I was graduating, I got a Fulbright scholarship to pursue my master's in urban planning in the US. And I ended up going to the City College of New York at CUNY.
So
Um,
amazing.
so I did that for a year and a little bit, worked a little bit in New York as well. And now I'm back in New York. Back in New York. Oh my God, I wish I was back in New York. Now I'm back in Beirut. Um,
Wow.
Yeah, I've been here for almost a year. Yeah, a year since September, almost a year and a half, maybe. Yeah.
Wow. So,
Hmm.
so what was it like coming to the US for, first of all, what was it like getting that scholarship? That is super prestigious, guys, by the way. That's an amazing, like, not many people get it. Tell us about that, like receiving it and coming here.
I mean, I'm going to be very honest with you. I wasn't planning on applying.
Mhm.
My very close friend was telling me about it and he'd gotten it and he was encouraging me to go for it. And I just kept telling him, like, no, why would I waste my time? It's never going to
Yeah.
happen.
Mhm.
They're never going to take me. I'm going to mess it up somehow. And he kept saying, no, you're exactly the person they're looking for. And I applied. Turns out, like, my professors were very encouraging and I mean, really someone that you look up to telling you that they think you should go for something so prestigious just lifts your spirits so much.
Of
But
course.
I still had imposter syndrome every single
Yeah.
step until I landed in the US. I thought that something was going to go wrong. Yeah, when I told my friends and like my family that I was going to the US, everyone just thought it makes perfect sense because I already speak like an American.
Okay, can I disturb you?
Yes.
Guys, I need to tell you, Sarah, I had to ask her if she was American because she is a self-taught English speaker. Everything you're listening to, she taught herself. Tell us how you learned English, Sarah, please.
When I was a kid, I like had a lot of free time on my hands, and so I watched a lot of TV.
Oh my
Literally, like
gosh.
so much TV. I had the TV schedule memorized, and all I would watch was American comedy shows.
Oh my
And
god.
that's how I learned English. Like I started learning English before they taught us English at school. And so I'd go to school and my English teacher would pronounce a word and I'd be like, no, you're saying it wrong.
Oh my god.
And she'd be like, who is this 10-year-old correcting my entire English degree right now? And I'm
Oh
like,
my
but
god.
that's not the way that they say it on TV.
That is so impressive, Sarah. Like, seriously impressive. I don't think I could sit down and
Thank you.
learn a language just by watching, like my Arabic is okay. It's pretty like decent for, the circumstances I'm in, but I could never sit down and watch Arabic shows and like come back fluent, like with the perfect accent and everything. Sarah, seriously, that's amazing. You briefly touched upon like being a woman and how your mom was really the first one to attend higher education at all. What was it like, packing your bags and actually coming here to pursue just that, like that extra step?
Um, it was daunting, it was intimidating, but it
Mhm.
was so exciting. I
Oh, I'm
mean,
sure.
more than the fear of a new environment, I was so excited. I was so happy. In my head, I was like, okay, I'm finally going to be where I'm meant to be. I'm
Mhm.
finally going to be in an environment that lets me thrive. Because, I
It's
mean,
so sad to say.
growing up here, it's just it's overwhelming, and I'm not going to say it's all bad. I'm not going to say the US is a perfect place because that's definitely
Absolutely.
not like the case.
Mhm.
But uh I was so excited to kind of live on my own, to be able to like forge my own path, especially since I was going to New York. I mean, looking back at like my mom's background and how she was the first woman in her family to go to college, she was the first woman to actually graduate high school, not just go to college.
Wow.
Um, I looked up to her so much, and I really tried to work really hard to kind of emulate her path,
Mhm.
of just kind of setting an example, like kind of even for my younger cousins, even for like my brother's friends who were girls. I remember one of my brother texted me and said, I really look up to you. And I was
Oh my God.
flabbergasted. Seeing that the way that you're living your life makes other people kind of more confident about theirs is such a invigorating feeling.
Right.
Right before I went to the US, this is a very interesting story, and it really goes with the theme of being a woman in the Middle East.
Yeah, tell me.
I had a meeting with a local architect, and he was trying to hand over a project. So he was trying to give me a project, kind of like to collaborate on.
Mm-hmm.
And he asks me, "What are your next plans after you graduate?" Because at that point, I hadn't graduated my undergrad yet.
Right.
And I say, oh, like I'm going to be going to do my master's next year in the US. And he says, but don't you think that you're going to miss out on a lot of opportunities if you do that? And I just stare at him like, what do you mean lose out on opportunities? I'll have a master's degree. Like that will just elevate whatever opportunities I get. And he looks me straight in the eyes and just says to me, no, I'm not talking about work opportunities. I'm talking about marriage. And this guy is like, he wasn't that old. He was like 31, and he taught at a college. This is a guy who's educated. This is a guy who like is supposed to be someone with a good head on his shoulders. And I was shocked. I was like, wait, you're kidding, right? And he says, no, like, what are you now, 23? When you're gonna go to the US, he says to me, you're gonna go to the US. What is it? A year, 2 years, you're gonna come back. You're gonna be 25. You're gonna be too old.
What? Is this man serious? Isn't this like a professional setting?
Oh no, we were having this meeting in a cafe, and my friend was at a table nearby, and I just remember my phone pinged a text from her, and it's like, why are you looking at this man like this? Why do we not like him?
Oh my God. Oh my God.
And it was very visibly obvious that I was upset. But he says it's not even about the age. Like, you have your bachelor's degree. What's even the point of a master's degree? Like,
are you?
You're just gonna take care of your kids, and like you had your fun with your degrees, and now you can just sit down and let your husband, like, or let a man just like kind of take care of what a man needs to take care of. And I've never been that type of person. I've never been the type of person that expects anyone to do anything for me. I've never been the type of person that demands anyone to do anything for me.
Right.
I've always been told to like do everything yourself. Don't let anyone have anything over you.
Absolutely. 100%.
And especially right now in this setting, especially in that setting, like a man kind of like telling me basically to sit down and shut up and like do my job as a woman. I was like, no, you
After
are not
what?
going to talk to me like
After
this.
you've earned this huge scholarship and you have all of these dreams of like literally trailblazing, because no one has done it before you. You've worked that hard to get to that point. And people look up to you, and then you have like these people that like, they come out of the woodwork, man. They're like, they're just there to drag you down and never listen to that.
And it made perfect sense when he told me later on, like, yeah, I mean, Fulbright, I don't know. I think they're not that great. And I'm like, why? And he said, well, they rejected my application. I'm like, oh my God, this makes so much sense.
So much
This
sense.
makes so much sense.
It's an ego issue.
It's an ego issue. It's a why you, not me thing.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
So, Leike, tell us a little bit more about like growing up in Lebanon as a woman. I do want to hear more about that, like, because you said you were born in Tripoli, but it sounds like you spent a lot of your time in the city, which I interviewed my friends on the last episode. We didn't really talk about like being a woman or anything, but I know that a daya woman is different, but I feel like there's a lot of consistencies with that like stereotypical role that women have to play.
I mean, Tripoli is weird because Tripoli is a city that socially behaves like a big daya.
Yeah.
So everyone knows everyone. The social circles are just very intertwined.
Mhm.
Um, I grew up in a setting that was conservative because my dad, who I see my dad's side of the family as the more relaxed side of the family.
Mhm.
They're less conservative, and my mom's side is the conservative side.
Right.
But my dad's family didn't have any girls, so I was the first girl born into
Oh,
the
wow.
family. And like my dad didn't have any sisters. I was the first female grandkid that my grandparents had. And then on my mom's side, my mom had all sisters, and I already had a lot of female cousins, and they're conservative. They're very conservative, and so that kind of just like got projected onto me.
Mhm.
And
Do
so
you think it was religious at I don't even know what if you're
mhm,
faithful or anything, but do you think it was
mhm.
religious at all?
I mean, it was definitely religious. It was kind of 50% religious, 50% society,
Yeah.
to be very honest, because I think that's kind of the difference between my dad and my mom's approaches, because my mom came from a more religious approach. My dad came from a more societal approach. Um, and so I wasn't allowed to like show a lot of skin growing up. I had to like cover up at all times. And my parents, I don't know how to explain the shift that they did,
Yeah.
but we kind of got to a point where we would meet each other halfway. And
Which is
as I grew
beautiful.
as a person, absolutely, as I grew as a person, they grew with me and kind of let me forge my path, and they let me discuss with them what is and isn't comfortable, what being modest is, or what being modest to me means.
Mhm.
And um I think it was great that I had that. It was definitely, a lot of it was rebellion. I'm not gonna lie. A
Yeah.
lot of it was rebellion, but a lot of it was just conversation.
Right.
Um,
So if you don't mind
yeah,
me asking, are you Muslim or are you Christian?
I am Muslim.
Okay.
Yes.
What has that been like for you? Like being a woman and being Muslim and then like you said, making that change? Because I know Tripoli and Tripoli
Hmm.
is like you said, it's like that old village mentality, but it's on like this huge city scale. There's
Hmm.
like old roads, like it's very like you go and it's like you're in a different century. It's beautiful, but it's also like mind-boggling. What was it like going from Tripoli to Beirut as a Muslim woman as well?
I mean, Tripoli. I mean, there's the old developments, there's the new developments. I
Yeah.
actually like studied that. And a lot of it really is like the new developments. It's a city, it's a big city. But coming to Beirut was the biggest element of it was the anonymity.
Yeah.
And because growing up in Tripoli, everyone knows you, or everyone knows of you. And here, I remember my Tripoli friends and I, when we first moved to Beirut together, like, or even like one after the other, we would say the same thing. Like, I can stand up on a table right now and start dancing, and no one would know me. No one would go call my parents and tell them I saw Sarah do this, this, and this.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
okay, so Tripoli is very one dimensional, kind of, in terms of who you mix with. So I was fortunate enough to go to a Christian school because my parents really wanted me to be exposed to people from different faiths. They didn't want me to just be around people that had the same ideology as me, that had the same religious background as me.
Mhm.
Um,
What was that
but
like?
that was actually pretty cool. It's the norm in Tripoli. It
Wow.
it really is the norm. Like everyone that I know, like Catholic schools and Christian schools, they had majority Muslim students, and it worked perfectly. It worked beautifully, actually, because there was like, what could go wrong when you put young kids, young impressionable kids, and you teach them like, this is your friend, point blank. This is your classmate, period. um
That's
it's
beautiful.
much better than putting people in a class and kind of being like, here, everyone is just like you. So yeah, but like moving to Beirut was definitely different in that I was exposed to even more faiths. Because in
Mhm.
Tripoli, you have like there's the Muslim cluster and then there's Christian cluster. And then in Beirut, you have all like you have Druze, you have Shia, you have all of these other beautiful faiths that you get to know, that you get to ask questions. And I think what was nice about being in AUB is that AUB really prompts you to ask people questions and have discussions. And there's a big culture around that of like, if someone does something differently than you, ask them. Like, open a conversation about it. Don't like avoid it. Because I know a lot of people, a lot of my friends, as they were growing up, as they went to college, they would avoid asking questions because they would think like, no, it's rude to ask.
Right.
I'm curious what your perspective is on this because I'm not sure what your faith is. So what's your faith, if I may ask?
So, I'm Maronite Christian. My
Mm-hmm.
jiddo's an abuna, he's a priest.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it very interesting because I feel like the city of Beirut, which I can only speak on like inkling. I've never really spent a lot of time in Beirut, but I
Mm-hmm.
feel like it's more of a modern attempt or a modern approach at like coexistence and like
Mm-hmm.
working together. But like when you go into like where I'm from and stuff, like we all coexist. Like there's no violence or anything like that, thank God.
Mm-hmm.
Best and no,
Mm-hmm.
like you realize that there is like this huge cultural difference and like we're the same, but we're not the same. We have different you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
for me here personally, like I have a lot of Muslim friends and I'm very cool with it. Whatever, we're close. I actually, believe it or not, I specifically think we're the same because we come from the same background, you know, like we
Mm-hmm.
listen to the same music, the same language. There isn't that division. But when it comes to me personally, it's like we get into like a little, I don't wanna call it a rut, but, like, when it comes to relationships, it gets a little tricky. You know, the cultural differences, are they too much to handle in a relationship, a personal relationship, like a boyfriend, do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Like a
Um
romantic relationship.
exactly,
Yeah.
yes. Um, which honestly, I've struggled. I don't know if you're comfortable to talk about that at all, but it's just, like, between the parents and then between, like, what you wanna do with your life futuristically, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, it's definitely been a point of contention, personally, and also like with my experience with everyone that I know, my friends, etc. Um, it's a difficult thing to navigate, especially since the culture ties into your religion,
Yeah.
and so there's a lot of the perspective is mostly like, think of your kids. Do you not want them to grow up like you grew up? Do you not want them to do the same things like socially and like the customs that you did?
Right.
And there's a lot of pressure
You're right.
on kind of, you have to be like, as soon as you start developing a crush on someone, you have to be like, no, my parents would never let us get married. And it's like, it's a crush. Like
Yeah.
I'm like 17 and I have a crush on this boy. And in my head, I'm just like, my mom would tell me that our kids would be miserable. Like,
It's
and as
not
a
even.
teenager, you you over make it more dramatic in your head as a teenager because your parents kind of tell you no and they know that you're gonna have leeway with it.
Yeah. But I mean, like, to go back, like,
Mm-hmm.
I think that we're really all brothers and sisters. Like, I feel like
Mm-hmm.
there's a real beauty in, like you just said, learning
Mm-hmm.
from one another and like celebrating Christmas together, but also celebrating Eid together. You know what I mean? And like
Definitely.
fasting and just like learning about like each other's cuisine and stuff, like just the traditions and what like I've honestly always wanted to go to a mosque and just see how they praise and how like, and honestly, mosques are some of the most beautiful structures I've ever seen. And like they're just like, we need to normalize learning from each other and creating that peace from, like you said, from this really, really low level of just being kids to grow up to like be able to work with each other and to be friends with each other and even sometimes build families with one another. Some people maintain their faiths and maintain their cultures and teach their children to choose whatever fits best with them. you know?
Mm-hmm.
And some
Mm-hmm.
people, like, I know people have arguments about it all the time in like regards to, oh, like, you know, the kids are going to choose the more lenient religion, or the kids aren't going to really explore, like it's what you teach them only. But I really like believe that, you know, with the society that I live in here, you do have the freedom to like learn about every faith and culture.
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel about it in Lebanon? Like, do you feel like you could marry a Christian man and be like, okay, kids, you pick. We're both equally religious, but you pick, you know?
So I think it would be easier in the US.
Yeah.
I think even for me, as someone who is from the Middle East, I think the way that I think my family would accept it more if it's someone in the US. And it's not just the whole out of sight, out of mind thing.
Yeah.
It's a your kids will not have a hard time because of society thing.
Right.
To sidebar from that, two men, if we were two men speaking right now, we would not be having this conversation, because men don't have to think about this. Men do not have the pressure that women have,
Yeah.
because in religion, it's kind of like, if a man marries a woman from, like, for example, in Islam, if a man marries a woman from another religion, he turns her, and
To the
therefore
religion.
he is
Yeah.
a better Muslim. But if a woman
You can't.
marries a man from outside the religion, then you're actively leaving the religion.
Yeah.
And even in society, like, you'd never expect men to think this far ahead when talking about religions. Or I might be wrong. There might be a lot of people that think that way, but
In my
yeah, that's my perspective on it.
experience, I've had like men do think in the future. I mean, here maybe we shouldn't as much as we do, but like when you're talking like cultural relationships, I've honestly gone away from cultural relationships only because I feel like I
Mm-hmm.
have developed like commitment and trust issues, and I just like I feel
Mm-hmm.
like it's all so serious, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And because you have like this essence of community that like, oh, it's a very public thing, oh, they dated, oh, you know everything about that, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
when it comes down to religion, any Muslim boys that I've ever talked to, like, they sort of like look past this point, honestly, and just,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like when it comes, or like you said, they're not afraid because it's their religion that would technically be, you know what I'm saying? Like it's okay.
Like, technically overpower,
Yeah,
or like take over.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
But let's go back to the point of being a woman and thinking this far ahead, because this is something I honestly am currently struggling with. Like, this is a point in my life right now where I'm entering uni. I took the semester
Mm-hmm.
off, so I'm going to university in like 2 weeks. I move in. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in this weird position where it's like I'm starting to think so far ahead that maybe I shouldn't, but like I want to have a family. I do. I want to have
Mm-hmm.
like 3, maybe 4 kids. But I'm a very career oriented woman. Like, I'm not going to
Mm-hmm.
be a stay-at-home mom, which I want to
Mm-hmm.
clarify. Like, I believe stay-at-home moms are powerful. Like, my mom was a stay-at-home mom
Definitely.
because raising kids is
Is a full-time
dedication.
job.
It's dedication. And I never want to make it seem that like I don't have respect, because that in itself takes a superhero. It does.
Mm-hmm.
So
It does. It really does.
seeing like that, I know that like I am very dedicated to like this mission, this duty that I feel like I have here with my lifetime. And that is
Mm-hmm.
to be someone and to help people, and especially like the Middle East. So I'm at the point in my life where it's like, okay, what am I going to do after my undergrad? Do I
Mm-hmm.
want to travel? Like, I have decided that like it would be best. It would be most fortunate if I could become like a professor while I'm having kids. That way I could
Mm-hmm.
maintain like this academic pursuit while still having a flexible schedule to have kids and be with them. But also like I want a husband that could have like a flexible schedule as well, like could be home with the kids if I had to work. And like, why am I thinking so far ahead, you know? I'm
Oh my God, I'm wondering the same thing. You're so young. You're way too young to be going into that line of thinking, but I get it. I get why you think that way.
right.
I was exactly like you when I was your age. Like, first of all, congrats on getting into BU.
Thank you.
You did very well for yourself. I know that you were on a very important scholarship as well. So
Thank you.
congrats on that. Um, I mean, definitely it's too early for you to be letting all of these thoughts consume you,
Right.
because it's super important to have goals. It's super important to know where you want to be in life, but also something that I'm not going to say regret doing because I don't like the word regret so much. Something that I wish I'd done less of is um, kind of overwork myself.
Yeah.
I did not enjoy my undergrad as much as I wish I had. I was working all the time. And I mean, there's pros and there's cons because like while I was in undergrad, I was throwing myself into all of these organizations. I was throwing myself into volunteer work.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was anxious, I was depressed, I was overworking myself, I wasn't happy. I was satisfied with my work and my work ethic, but at a certain point, you overwork yourself to the point where no work is enough.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I did not enjoy my late teens, early 20s. They were spent behind a laptop, either like crying or stressing out.
Mhm.
I
So,
mean,
Sarah,
yeah.
have you thought about like now that like you're obviously at least like what? How you're probably 5 years older than me, right?
How old are you?
I'm 18.
You're 18. I'm 25.
Okay.
I'm a good 7 years, yeah,
Okay.
older than you.
So what do you feel like have you given it a thought like what, do you want a family? Do you want to balance the career and the family? Because I mean, back to what we were saying, it's not something really men think about as often because like they're not
Hmm.
actually bearing the children and, having
Hmm.
that emotional and mental connection to like I mean, I could be speaking out of my butt right now, but like I feel like a woman has like this higher pressure to be able to figure out like what am I doing with the next 10 years of
Hmm.
my life in terms of children and family life. Have you been in that position recently? Like what do you think you're going to do?
I mean, I've definitely had those intrusive thoughts that were like, I'm nearing my expiry date, you know?
Yeah.
Because I'm 25.
You
A
have
lot of
plenty
people
of
think you
time,
just like
Sarah.
a lot of
Plenty of
people just
time.
make you feel like you're shriveling up once you hit your
No.
mid 20s.
Oh my
And
god.
especially
You're
especially
absolutely
since
gorgeous. You're
thank
gorgeous and
you.
you have so much.
Thank you.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but definitely like I definitely do want a family. I want to be I I'm very career oriented, but also I want to be doing something that I love. I don't want to be doing something just to do something.
100%.
Um, and that's something that right now has been ever since I moved back to Beirut, a lot of things have been put into perspective for me because after being in New York and having that New York mentality, I moved back here and I kind of was put in the situation in like a few situations where I would be dating someone and they would be expecting me to just like want to get married
Yeah.
ASAP. And I'm like I would love to get married in the future. I mean there's nothing that I think would be more beautiful than to be in like a beautiful relationship and to be comfortable with someone and to be in love and to have a family.
Yeah.
But I'm not in a rush to do
Right.
that. I don't think like yes, I do have those intrusive thoughts of like, oh my God, like I'm running out of time. But also this year with everything that's happened in 2020, I think I've gotten a new perspective of we have like our time is not only limited, it's constricted. And so why would you want to spend your time with someone that you don't 110% know that is the person for you?
So have
And
you been like dating? Like what has dating life been like, especially like in Lebanon right now?
yeah, I've been dating. I mean, the dating culture in New York kind of ruined me, because it took so much for me to get used to the dating culture in New York, and then jumping right back into the dating culture here was really weird. Like I don't know what it was like in Massachusetts or like anywhere else in the US, but and I'd love to know what that's like, but in New York, it's a city of 12 billion people and
Yeah.
you as opposed to Tripoli, where if you so much as go on one date with someone, everyone knows about it.
Right.
In New York, you can be in like a 1.5 year relationship and no one would even know. Like in New York, someone can tell you that they want to introduce you to their parents and then just like ghost you the next week. And like it's such a stark opposition.
Yeah.
And it's so much more casual in a way that was comforting. There was no pressure. There was no kind of my mom being like, after a first date, what does he do? Who are his parents? Is he like from a similar background? Is he like, what's his future look like? It's a lot more me. Like I get to make decisions about people. I don't have to listen to people's opinions on my relationships before I even form them myself.
Yeah, that's powerful. I like, I mean, I'm still very young and stuff, and I live that, what you just said. And it's not like, I don't think it's like to the point that, you know, I can't breathe or anything. It's just sort of like, I'm a people pleaser and I love my parents so much that I would never like, I don't know, I don't find myself casually dating at all. Like it's like these little secret flings that I'll have, or like, because I'm like too afraid of getting asked all those questions and I don't want the questions. And I don't know. I feel like when I go to college, it'll be a bit different. It'll be more the life that you explained. There was an explosion like 5 months ago. Were you there? What, like,
Yes. I was in Tripoli at the time. I wasn't in Beirut. That
thank
was
God.
the time. Thank goodness. It was that time between when I was like transitioning out of my job at AUB into like unemployment, because AUB ended up like losing a lot of funding, and so my position was eliminated. And thankfully, at the time, I mean, how things go full circle and things happen for whatever reason and it ends up working out for you. Like, thank God I wasn't at AUB, because I saw my old office and it was roof just like right where I sat.
Oh my God.
And I mean, I heard about it and no one wanted to believe that it was as big as it was. Um, Everyone was just like, at first, it was like, oh, it's just like a little like fire, like it's a little thing. And then I remember I was actually like leaving my house to see my friends, and I look at the TV at the presenter, and she's speaking, and behind her is just a demolished building
Oh my
with
God.
like trigger warning, I'm going to describe something gory. There was a wall collapsed and a guy, like half of a body was dangling from the building right behind her. And she hadn't noticed. And that was rough. That was really, really rough. And I had to do a double take. Like, did I really just see that? And just all of your WhatsApp groups just kind of being like, guys, everyone just stay safe. Everyone just send something. Send an emoji, send a dot, send anything. Just let us know. And then one of my like previous classmates was kind of updating us live on her being stuck behind a glass front that just collapsed on her.
Oh my gosh.
And it's devastating because your mind just goes like a mile a minute. You just don't know who to check up on first. You don't know who to talk to. You don't know you don't know what to do. You just freeze. We didn't think it could get worse. We should always know that it would get worse. And to have to think that way is so sad.
It's so
It's so
disappointing.
sad. I mean, but yeah, and I mean, I don't know what you felt. Like, what do your parents feel, for example? Like, your parents are like, they're so far away and they saw a part of like their youth kind of just, they saw that happen to it. Because I know the community in the US really mobilized a lot and they sympathized a lot.
It was like, for us here, it was more of like what else could happen because
Mm-hmm.
we I mean, for us, it was really just like a clump of, from the revolution to
Mm-hmm.
the economic collapse and like helping our family back home as much as we can. And like COVID being unleashed and not being able to be taken care of. And then boom, like this huge explosion. It's like a whirlwind of emotion being so far away and feeling powerless, but at the same time being like so emotionally drained and connected because it's like at any minute, like you just said, you don't know who
Mm-hmm.
is gonna go. You don't know who's gonna be hurt. You don't know, what's going on, if this is just the start of something
Mm-hmm.
bigger that we don't know about. It's literally an
Mm-hmm.
emotional roller coaster. And my poor parents, it's like my dad especially, because my mom has a lot of family here, but they both have family. Um, it's hard because it's like, I left you and this is what's going on right now. And like, what is there in your future? Like you feel
Mm-hmm.
guilty. You really do. I feel guilty and I'm
There's a lot
second.
of survivor's guilt.
Exactly. And I
Mm-hmm.
like all you can do is check on your friends and check on your family because essentially it's like everything just crashes
Mm-hmm.
and burns and it's so sad, Sarah, because like you
Yeah.
said, America isn't perfect and Lebanon has so much positive that we never really get to see, but it's just the way the world is right now and
Yeah.
it's just disappointing. It's so sad.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely that perspective of like anger of like what else can you take from me? Like you've already taken so much, and that by you, I mean the government. Like
Yeah.
you've taken away my youth, you've taken away my ability to have financial security, you've taken away my ability to be happy, you've taken away my ability to live in a healthy environment. I don't want to leave my parents. I don't want to leave my parents behind. I don't want to be in a different country than them. I see my grandma and how sad she gets at my uncle being continents away. My uncle's in
Yeah.
Montreal.
Yeah.
And it's just this whole thing of I remember like yesterday I tweet someone worded so wrong. It was like, I'm so glad people who think they're too good to live here are leaving. And it's just kind of a, how dare you? How dare you say that people who leave think they're too good to be here? First of all, thinking that you're too good to be abused, because Lebanon right now is abusive.
Yeah.
Yes, I do think I'm too good to be in an environment that doesn't let me grow, in an environment that doesn't allow me to kind of thrive. And how dare you think that people, I want to see my parents grow up. I want my parents to to tie back to what we were talking about before. I want my parents to see their grandkids. I had people reach out to me to work for them. They're an NGO whose main focus after the explosion was Beirut relief and like emergency response. And so right now I am a meal officer at this NGO. I do M&E, which is monitoring and evaluation. I
Wow. That's awesome.
Yes, I thank you. I am in touch with donors. I report to them exactly like money to us. I tell them exactly what's happening with them, how many units, residential shops, businesses, clinics, how many people they've helped. I put together reports like, this is how many families you've impacted. This is how many kids got your toy donations. This is, and I report on that. And it brings me so much joy to know that I'm kind of, though it's not what I studied, um, I'm at least doing something productive. I'm doing something that's good for the community, good for my society. I have a hand in rebuilding because it's
Absolutely.
sad. I spent my youth in Beirut. Beirut was it's to see everything that I grew up like as a kid, but everything that formed me as an adult,
Mm-hmm.
it's gone.
Yeah.
Where's the government? Why are people cleaning this? It's not
My
people's
point.
job.
My point exactly. what do you feel like were the most empowering points of being like a woman and doing what you're doing in your life? It could be now, it could be in the past. Like, give us some motivation or some like inspiration, like what do you feel like is something huge that you've accomplished?
I think back to the point that we talked about earlier, to see that people that look up to me or that think that they would like to walk a similar path,
Mm-hmm.
that means the world to me. That means that I must be doing something right. Like even when I'm at my lowest, even when I'm sad, even when I'm depressed, even when I'm anxious, I know that someone is being motivated by what I do. Someone is being motivated by something that I've written, something I've posted, something I've done, something they've heard about me.
100%.
And I remember this little girl just like tapping me on the elbow, like, who are you? What do you do? Like, are you one of them? Like, are you one of the foreigners? Are you one
Yeah.
of the foreigners? And I said,
Oh
no,
my
like I'm
gosh.
from here. I'm actually from Tripoli too. And fascinated. She's like, oh my God, you're from here just like me. And I'm like,
That's
yes,
so
I'm just like
cute.
you. I'm from here. And she's like, but what do you do? What do you do? And I said, like, I'm here to talk to you. Like, I'm here with them. And she's just like, little kids, it's like black and white. She's like, so you're the boss?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I am.
Yeah, it's like, especially since I had a lot of like my team, there were a lot of like guys with us as well, like
Yeah.
Lebanese guys with us on my project team. And she's like, so you tell the guys what to do?
Oh
And
yeah.
I was like, yeah. And she was like, oh my God, I want to be you when I grow up. And
That's
like, it
so
was like,
cute.
she said it in a cuter way. She said it in a very, it was
That's so
adorable. She
adorable.
just looks at me. She's like, I want to do that. I want to do that. And I left that school feeling like I can take on the world.
I know. Oh my
That
gosh.
was a gorgeous, beautiful moment. And like, I can't imagine ever feeling like that sort of satisfaction ever again.
It's like it's rewarding because like all the challenges you faced are being reflected in a good way, and that people, like you said, like I have girls all the time tell me like you're so inspiring, and I look at myself and I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I'm doing everything wrong in life. And then you have like these little bursts of like light that will remind you that you're doing something that's on the right path and that you're inspiring others. And like honestly, like my biggest role model is Amal Clooney, and she's this human rights lawyer. I don't know if you know who that
Mm-hmm.
is. She's Lebanese.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
definitely.
I don't
Yeah.
growing up I didn't have a lot of role models or inspiration, so it is so fulfilling to hear that someone has like been watching my journey and has been inspired by my journey. And it makes all the haters worth it, it makes all the pessimism worth it.
You can never really escape imposter syndrome. You can never really escape doubting yourself. So you sometimes need other people to put things into perspective for you and to
Right.
just tell you, like, no, you're doing amazing. You're doing great. No one is perfect. No one is at the top of their game at all times, but you are at the top of your game so often. And so they really, and especially when it comes from people who don't owe you anything,
Right.
from people who are not your friends, from people who don't look at you like, I need to make this person feel better about themselves.
Right.
But I admire your journey so much, even though I am like much older than you, but it really is like, I look at you and I think like, this is someone that knows what they want out of life. Like, I look up to you.
Like, Sarah, you're
like,
so
I
sweet.
admire you.
Oh my gosh.
But it's the truth. It's the truth. I admire you. Really, admiration has no age limit. Admiration has no like
So sweet.
boundaries. And just when you see someone who's at the top of their game, who's trying their hardest. It's inspirational.
Sara, you inspire me too, and I'm so happy that you could be on this podcast with me today. Seriously, I am so like I feel like you could be my best friend if you were next door. Like
Aww.
seriously, and it
Aww.
doesn't even feel like you're at this completely different stage of life. You're amazing and you bring so much to the table. Seriously.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I really appreciate you saying that. Thank you so much for having
Of
me.
course. So I feel like our final message is like the power in being a woman is unprecedented as long as we channel it into passion, into fire, and push forward and demanding what we want out of this world because you're a pure example of that, being a trailblazer, making your own path and demanding what you want. And I hope to be that with my lifetime too. And hopefully we'll raise our daughters to be the same exact way.
I really hope so. That was so beautifully put.
Thank you,
All right.
Sara. And thank you guys for listening. And I hope you guys tune in next Tuesday for the next episode of Listen Habibi. Okay. Bye, Sara. It was so nice speaking to you,
All
Habibi.
right. Bye. It was amazing speaking to you too.
Bye. Mwah.
Bye.
See you soon.